This is CBC Here and Now.
Wind, mild temperatures, rain for Newfoundland, but Labrador is seeing the first winter storm warnings of the season.
Runners and people who walk on these trails, these are people-made trails. These are trails where damage has already been done. And yet the environmental argument is going to be put on the backs of disabled people.
A hot topic in running and cycling circles, making the trails more accessible.
This mom is sharing her family's story.
Good evening and welcome to Here and Now. I'm Anthony Germain.
And I'm Carolyn Stokes. We begin tonight in Bay Roberts.
Police say a man posing as a licensed practical nurse sexually assaulted a retirement home resident. The RCMP say it happened here at the Bay Roberts Retirement Centre back in August. Police arrested 44-year-old Christopher Power from Brigus, saying they received an allegation that the man sexually assaulted a resident. Their investigation apparently revealed Power had forged and falsified documents at the retirement home, presenting himself as a qualified LPN. He was arrested at the facility in August, and police laid charges just last week. According to authorities, the retirement home has been fully cooperative in the investigation. Power has been charged with sexual assault and multiple accounts of forging documents and falsely claiming to be a licensed practical nurse. He's due in court later this month.
Well, tonight, CBC Investigates takes you to the Northern Peninsula, where a staffing shortage earlier this year meant there was just one social worker in St. Anthony and Roddickton. One social worker and 167 case files. The union representing workers says not much has changed since then, while the minister responsible says help is on the way. Here and Now's Heather Gillis reports.
There's a big demand for social workers in the Roddickton area, but there have also been big problems finding people to do that work. According to a decision note obtained through Access to Information, earlier this year there were 7 vacant social worker positions in the Roddickton-St. Anthony area, leaving just one social worker to cover 167 cases. The note called the workforce unstable, leading those social workers who periodically fill positions to express concern with achieving caseload standards.
The caseload is supposed to be around 20, so when you see 8-fold, that's gravely concerning.
Still, months later, after warnings and attempts to solve the problem, NAPE President Jerry Earle says little has changed.
Again, I really feel for those social workers. They're there every day, trying to do the best they can, but against insurmountable challenges. When you have 160-odd case files, you cannot in any way, shape or form do justice for those people that you're entrusted in your care.
We realize that we have a shortage of social workers in some parts of the province.
But the minister responsible says help is on the way. War says more social workers have been hired, leaving just 2 vacant positions and a more manageable caseload.
So the caseloads for St. Anthony, when the second person is hired, will go for one social worker at 18 files. And in Roddickton, we're still above where we want to be. It's 1 to 32.
War says rotational workers are filling in, and files from Port Saunders and Port au Choix were shuffled to Deer Lake. Documents show the province spent nearly $18,000 on sending workers to Roddickton to help out. Earle calls that a Band-Aid solution and says the situation is impacting social workers' mental health.
We have social workers today from some of those areas that are unfortunately off with such mental illnesses as PTSD, workplace fatigue, underlying mental health issues that's been brought on because of the challenges of their work. That has to be dealt with.
And we look forward, like I said, to addressing those concerns and those needs as soon as we can.
A joint committee of NAPE and the department met for the first time last week to do exactly that. Look at the broader issues affecting social workers. Heather Gillis, CBC News, St. John's.
Well, police are investigating a fatal workplace accident that happened at Terra Nova National Park Friday morning. A 59-year-old man from Hare Bay was injured at the compound and taken to hospital, and he later died from his injuries. Police aren't saying exactly what happened, but indicate they are working with occupational health and safety.
The the province has been easing back restrictions on rotational workers, and so far they say it's a success. The Health Minister and Chief Medical Officer of Health presented their findings today, but what does it all mean for the rest of us? Here Now's Peter Cowan has been digging into the numbers. So Peter, what did this study show?
Carolyn, out of the 13 new cases we saw during this period, only 2 of those came from rotational workers. And what was happening was during this period, instead of the usual 14-day isolation, rotational workers could get out a week early as long as they had a negative test. And the health minister says today it was a success.
We have been successful in containing those cases that have been associated with travel. There's been no community spread. Our goal was never to have no cases. That is unrealistic. Our goal was to contain those cases we identified. I'm happy to say that the report, the analysis, shows that we do not need to be more restrictive with our rotational workers.
The plan is to continue the existing measures because they seem to have worked. But why not expand this for everyone who's entering the province in order to reduce the isolation? Well, we were told today that that's because by and large rotational workers work in closed camps like this one where their risk is lower. And they also face a higher mental toll of having to isolate for 14 days every time they come home.
They are going to significantly controlled areas from the point of view of a work site or a camp that are not typical of, say you or I if we went to visit family in Alberta or BC. So we walk that balance between recognizing the environment in which rotational workers work, their challenges around interactions and mental health, but also the risk of the public's general health.
So the interesting thing is they are going to use the results from this study as they try and figure out what to do about Christmas and people who may want to come home, but we're going to have to wait at least a week or 2 in order to find out about that. One interesting fact that we saw in today's report, all the 13 cases were detected within the first week. None went beyond that period. So I asked the question today, why not shorten our quarantine period in order to give people more freedoms? Dr. Janice Fitzgerald said today that it's just too small a sample size to determine that, and there have been cases that have gone on past the 7-day period. However, she wasn't able to provide any sort of data about how often that happens. Reporting live from the newsroom, I'm Peter Cowan for Here and Now.
The beginning of November started off fairly quiet, and then we hit Monday, and an area of low pressure moved in. Lots of rain, strong winds, and mild temperatures today for most of the island. And behind that, we've got some colder air affecting Lab West, even up through northern portions of Labrador, and that's leading to snow on that side of the low pressure system. Here's where we are sitting temperature-wise. -1, that was the afternoon high in Labrador, but plenty of mild temperatures for the island. 12 degrees was the afternoon high so far in St. John's, 16 in Stephenville, and then a number of areas seeing those double-digit temperatures. The other story is the winds. Just at around 5:30 this afternoon, so far have reached a peak of 100 kilometers per hour at the airport in St. John's, and then Wreck House area takes the cake at 141 kilometers per hour. And as we head through the next couple of hours, this is where we're going to see the strongest winds. They'll eventually die down, but I'll have all those details coming up.
Thanks, Ashley. Well, there's a new development tonight in the labor dispute between Loblaw and Unifor. Talks broke off again last week, but now the provincial labor minister has appointed a mediator to try to help end the 2.5-month-old strike. Here Now's Mark Quinn reports.
In the House of Assembly in St. John's today, the ongoing Dominion strike in this province was raised again. Talks fell apart last week, and the Progressive Conservative leader asked the Premier if he's contacted Galen Weston, the chair of the company that owns Dominion stores.
These frontline workers sacrificed so much for all of us during COVID-19, and they deserve to get back to work with fair pay. I asked the Premier, has he reached out to Galen Weston to encourage him to settle this matter?
Labour Minister Jerry Byrne answered for the Premier.
We were encouraged and were very much applauded for reaching out to both the employer and their bargaining unit, the union Unifor, to get them back to the table last week. It's very unfortunate that meeting did not result in a successful collective agreement.
Later, speaking with reporters, the Labour Minister outlined a further step that's been taken to try to end the strike.
I have appointed Mr. Wayne Fowler to serve as a mediator. I reached out today to both the national president of Unifor, Jerry Diaz, as well as the president of Loblaw Canada, Sarah Davis, to inform them of my decision, and both accepted the decision.
Byrne says Fowler, the former CEO of the Provincial Labour Relations Agency, will act as an independent third party to assist both sides. Both NDP leader Alison Coffin and PC leader Chess Crosby applauded the move, but they say the minister probably should have done it sooner. The strike over pay and hiring concerns has shut down 11 Dominion stores in this province and put more than 1,400 people out of work. Mark Quinn, CBC News, St. John's.
Well, Mount Pearl is canceling its annual Christmas parade, and what would have been the 65th annual parade has been called down because of concerns over COVID-19. Similarly, the Frosty Festival, which is set for February, that has also been pushed over to next year. Well, parade organizers worry that it's not just the Christmas celebration that people will miss out on.
One of the sad things about this is the food bank. We collect through the parade with the help of Coleman's. They provide their van, and we fill that with food for the food bank. In addition, we collect money along the route, and Scotiabank has always matched what we've collected. So I would ask people in Mount Pearl who normally do those things if they would keep in mind the extra need.
Well, some federal funding has been divvied up to help towns and cities cope with COVID-19. The announcement came last Thursday. In St. John's, it means a $6.4 million boost. And smaller communities across the province are also getting some funding as well. The town of Harbour Grace is set to receive about $175,000. It's a much smaller amount than St. John's, but still significant for a struggling community.
It's just as powerful in Harbour Grace as it is in the city. We got businesses that rely on a trade. We were talking before the interview about tourism and our B&Bs, and they're basically closed down. We have a hotel here which is being impacted, and even the other businesses around are being affected by it. So it's played a role in the town of Harbour Grace, and as people that pay their taxes that get back into the community that we've had to make some adjustments for this year because of COVID.
Well, Marble Mountain will be open fewer hours this winter and running fewer lifts. The ski hill is hoping to start its season January 7th, but with a number of restrictions in place. For instance, the Marble Villa won't open. Night skiing, ski school, and all major events have been canceled. The lift on the eastern side of the mountain is also shut down. All skiers and snowboarders must wear a mask while waiting for the chairlift, while they're on the lift, and while inside the lodge. The lodge won't be serving alcohol and will have limited hours and capacity. No childcare this year either. That's being used for outdoor seating. The hill shut down in March as the COVID-19 pandemic first hit the province.
Well, sharing the trail, it has been a hot topic among runners, walkers, and cyclists this fall. Plans to pave certain St. John's pathways have caused a stir, with many runners speaking out in support of the existing gravel walkways. But people with mobility issues, they have their own take on this. Amy Warren wanted to highlight some of the issues that she and her family face every day, and they spoke with Here and Now's Jeremy Eaton.
Amy Warren, her husband Gary, and their 9-year-old daughter Maria love getting outdoors. When she was her daughter's age, she loved hiking, climbing, and dancing. She still has a passion for the outdoors, although getting there is a little harder these days. A lifelong chronic illness led Warren to start using mobility aids about a decade ago. Then, a year and a half ago, she moved to a wheelchair.
And I think there is a misperception that accessibility has come a long way. And when you are using a wheelchair for your, way of getting around, you realize pretty quick that the spaces that we have in our environment currently in the city, in the province, are not really akin to being able to move around freely.
On a sunny fall Saturday, the trio head to CBS to take advantage of the Manuels River Trail, which is one of the very few trails big enough for them.
Widened trails, I think, have made a big difference. That's what we've noticed, for example. We all have enough space to get around, so that worry's not there. So today, you have a really pleasant experience.
Is that a puppy or is it just...
Sadly, not all of her interactions and experiences are positive ones. Warren highlights the difficulty of opening heavy doors that don't have accessible openers, and retail store aisles that aren't big enough for her chair and another person.
It wouldn't be fair to say that the reaction you get is always negative, and it wouldn't be fair to say that the predominant reaction is negative. I think when we have the unpleasant experiences, which unfortunately happen, at least once a day, I would say, when you're in an aisle and someone feels scared you're going to bump into them, I've been sworn at, sometimes maybe overly dramatic, and they, scoot out of the way and kind of tut at you, and it's very noticeable that they're not wanting you to invade that space, or they feel like you're a danger to that space, and that's a hard pill to swallow when you feel like you're kind of tiptoeing around, which is, to use a kind of a weird expression when you're seated in a wheelchair, but you're sort of trying to guide yourself around very timidly all the time, and that can get frustrating.
But the biggest issue facing Warren isn't about trails or ramps or enough space. It's people. And the stares, the glares, the name-calling Warren sees and hears. Something a grown woman can take, but not something she likes to see her young daughter exposed to.
You get sworn at. I've been called disgusting in front of my daughter. And she had to ask her mom, why did that person call you disgusting, Mommy?
So some people give my mom glares, and I don't really like that. I feel like they're just disrespecting people that are in wheelchairs when they're people too.
How many trees do you see?
With the prospect of accessible trails being built, she'd like this picture to be included in the conversation.
And that's the big concern with accessibility, is when you hear people say things like trails, for example, becoming accessible, and we're going to take away from our natural environment. You're assuming that making it accessible makes it worse for the environment than it's already been. So when runners and people who walk on these trails, these are people-made trails. These are trails where damage has already been done. And yet the environmental argument is going to be put on the backs of disabled people. And we're just a family trying to do the regular things other families do. We decided to talk because we want it to be more normal that people like us want to be in these spaces. And we would like more spaces to be designed for everyone rather than trying to fit us in already designed spaces. Design spaces for us all. We had a conversation about whether this was going to be worth it because we've been pretty private. And ultimately we said, you know what, we need to make a purpose here. And we agreed that as a family we wanted to make a difference, and we thought maybe this would make a difference.
Oh, it was there on that side. I thought you were on this side. You did too. Yeah.
Jeremy Eaton, CBC News, Conception Bay South.
It's not looking too great out there, outside here in the metro area anyway. Strongest winds over the next few hours, then things are going to start to die down. Then we talk about the potential for snow. I'll have all those details coming up.
Newfoundland's French Shore. See what life was like there almost 35 years ago. Sunday at noon and Monday at 7.
Well, now, just before we get to the weather, Boston Bruins bad boy and star Brad Marchand and his teammate Kevin Miller are getting into the outfitting business in central Newfoundland.
Yeah, the pair bought a hunting lodge on Red Indian Lake. Marchand, who's originally from Nova Scotia, says his family has been traveling to the province almost every year to hunt. His grandfather took his dad, and then he started tagging along.
Now, the teammates already own a line of outdoor sports gear, and they're starring in an online reality web series about the outdoors. You see them there with their hunting bows. Marchand says buying a lodge was just the next step.
At getting an outfitter and getting the business, something that I want to do when I retire. And it just seemed like a great opportunity. It allows us to have different options to do hunts each year, and it's a passion that we have and that we love. So, we wanted to just further our business in that sense and have a place we can go to and enjoy.
Ashley's here now with a look at the weather forecast. It was so nice on the weekend. Then today, wow, those winds really ramped up.
Yeah, Sunday was a perfect day for getting all of that put away. I know I did, cleaned out the greenhouse.
Patio furniture,
all that stuff to do that. But yes, most of it is done, and good thing. And if it was your garbage day, you were probably chasing the garbage can. Certainly. Those winds did ramp up more so in the evening hours. Let's take a look at those. What we're seeing right now, 100-kilometer-per-hour gusts recorded as of 5:30 in St. John's. The strongest winds earlier today were in the Rec House area, but they've since diminished. We're looking at 57-kilometer-per-hour gusts there. And now as we head through the next couple of hours, this is when we are going to see the strongest winds, certainly anywhere from 100 to as much as 120, maybe even a little bit more than that as we in those exposed areas. But as we head into in and around midnight and after that, that's when those winds should go below warning criteria in the east. Still gusty though, 60 to 70 kilometers per hour. And then those stronger winds will continue in the west with gusts in those exposed areas could reach as high as 110 kilometers per hour. And then staying gusty up through Labrador as well. And as we head into tomorrow, eventually those winds will ease a little bit, 20 to 50 kilometer per hour gusts. And then they'll ramp back up again as we head into Wednesday morning as the next system rolls in. So as far as warnings go so far, we do have all of those wind warnings for anywhere pretty much along the west, south, east, and northeastern portion of the island. And then a rainfall warning still in effect down through the southern portions of the Avalon, and then a winter storm warning in effect for Churchill Falls, the Valley, and then Hopedale to Makovic. And that's because we're going to see quite significant amount of snow, anywhere from 20 to 30 centimeters of snow along the coast as we head into the early morning hours tomorrow. Eventually that will taper off, but here's a look at that low pressure system. So you can see the heaviest rain right now making its way further east, and that will continue. Eventually it'll taper to showers, then we get back into that onshore flow with some colder air wrapping around this. And this is when we're going to start to get into what about a snow squall setup. And it's looking like that will happen in the early morning hours on Tuesday and continue through most of the day as we get into that southwesterly flow. And then things will taper off up through Labrador, but with all that fresh snow and still some gusty winds, we'll likely see some blowing snow continuing through the day tomorrow. Here's where you'll be sitting overnight tonight, down to 1-2 degrees for central and the west, staying mild, only going down to 7 degrees tonight in St. John's, but again, those winds will eventually ease. And then up through Labrador, you're looking at -14 for Lab City tonight. Those winds staying breezy, 50 to 70 kilometers per hour, a little stronger for the northern portions, about 80 kilometers per hour. And then in those exposed areas along the coast, could see upwards of about 120 overnight tonight. Here's a setup for tomorrow. That the model's picking up on that snow squall potential quite well. Could even head towards the interior, mainly looking at a mix of sun and cloud through central, some lingering showers possible. And then same thing for the east with a few sunny breaks in the afternoon, but overall it will be an unsettled day. Then we're watching the next system roll in. This will happen Tuesday night into Wednesday, and as you can see, that quickly moves through, but that risk of some snowfall, accumulating snowfall, will be the story into Wednesday morning, and eventually by the time Wednesday morning rolls around, we could even see some snow for the metro area. Obviously, the track of the system will determine exactly how much snow falls, but overall through the day tomorrow, you're looking at temperatures around 2 to 5 degrees, another mild or around seasonable temperatures for St. John's, 8 degrees. And then those winds will be fairly brisk, anywhere from 40 to as much as 50 kilometers per hour. Cooler temperatures again up through Labrador, but some more sunshine in the mix. Chance of a few flurries will eventually taper off for the coast. You're looking at a high near -2 in Cartwright. There's a look at that low pressure system. Again, the track will determine exactly where we're going to see the strongest or the most amount of snow. This will take us through into Wednesday afternoon. You can see it moves through fairly quickly. So in behind that, we'll see the potential for some more flurries along the day, or for the day rather, on the west coast. And then eventually that'll taper off as the ridge of high pressure will move in. And then the next low will move in for Labrador, and that's going to bring in the potential for some flurries. So this is just one model. This is the snow squalls for tomorrow morning, anywhere from probably 5 centimeters, maybe a little bit more in some of those heavier snow squalls. But then this is the snow that I was talking about. So like I said, this is just one model's prediction, anywhere from 10 to as much as 15 centimeters as possible, some pockets of higher as well. Any shift in this will shift that as well. So certainly pay attention to the forecast over the coming days. But here's where you're going to be sitting temperature-wise, hovering around the 0 to 1 degree mark. That snow will eventually clear through the day on Wednesday. And then into Thursday, we're looking at temperatures above 0 and plenty of sunshine, so things will finally clear out. And then up through Labrador, similar temperatures into the minus single digits, though, with the potential for some flurries for Nain. Here's where you'll be sitting over the next couple of days, eventually climbing back up into those double digits into the weekend with the potential for some rain, so another push of warm air there. And then through Central, similar forecast, 8 to 9 degrees through the day on Friday, and then double digits through Central, and then up through northern portions of the Big Land. You're looking at anywhere from 9 degrees, so that push of warm air will move in for eastern Labrador, and same thing for Lab West, around 5 degrees. Wanted to share this beautiful shot of a moonlit Virginia lake. Thank you to Anna Sparrow for sharing that with us, and if you have any weather photos to share with us, send them to nlphotos@cbc.ca.
Well, the fishery is winding down in many parts of the province, but that doesn't mean issues surrounding the industry get talked about any less. Jane Adey can attest to that. She's the host of the broadcast on CBC Radio, and she joins me now. So, Jane, you're going to bring us a piece tomorrow night about an issue that I know gets a lot of attention on your show, Capelin.
Right. I find Capelin and talk of the Capelin fishery in particular really gets a lot of reaction from listeners. The Capelin fishery has always been controversial in this province. Codfish depend on Capelin for survival, so do many other species in the ocean. And so when Capelin are in trouble, which they are, many people ask why a commercial fishery is allowed on this critical species. So tomorrow night, we're going to hear from two men who've been talking about the importance of Capelin for decades. Seabird biologist Bill Montevecchi and conservationist Shane Mahoney. They both say it's time to focus a lens on this fishery and do something before it's too late.
DFO scientists are stuck. Look, I work with these people. I have total respect for DFO science, and I wish they could get unstuck, you know? And you know, the reason they're stuck is they here in Canada, here in Newfoundland, they cannot do what scientists in Norway and Iceland can do. And that means they don't have the resources, they don't have the capability, they don't have the ship, they don't have the ability to make an assessment of the size of the Capelin stock. They cannot set a reference point and say when Capelin gets to, this is what they can do in Iceland, this is what they can do in Norway. When Capelin gets to this level, we shut it down, and then when it comes back, we'll open the fishery if we want to have it. And every time they've done that in Norway and Iceland, every time they've done that, the cod have come back. So it's a no-brainer. We just don't have the opportunity to do it.
We stand at a time with the absolute maximum amount of knowledge of that marine ecosystem that we have ever had at any time in human history. And yet we still are not grappling with this fundamental question of Capelin. And I ask the question, why? When can we get to a point where we intervene and stop fisheries ahead of absolute collapses and do it in a way that allows resurgence and over the long haul maximizes the benefits to the resource, maximizes the benefit to people? That really is the key question.
Well, Jane, seems like a pretty impassioned plea there.
Right, Carolyn, they are both very passionate about this issue. So I'm going to bring you that conversation, the Capelin conundrum, on tomorrow's Here and Now.
All right, great. Thank you so much, Jane.
You're welcome.
Welcome back. Well, good news for foodies out there. The Burger and Brew Fest is having a do-over. That's because the original challenge was canceled due to COVID-19. So from now until November 14th, Destination St. John's is pushing people to take part in a 2-week burger challenge. 27 local restaurants are taking part, and their prizes too.
And not only that, but $1 from every single burger is going to go to the Community Food Sharing Association. And this is all especially timely because we're launching a new food series called Stuffed. And the hosts are 3 friends, Ife Alaba, Columbus Guillot, and Farai Guasira. And they all love to eat. And for this first episode, They're on the hunt for the best burger in St. John's.
Bernard Stanley or Bernard and Stanley? Bernard Stanley.
Bernard Stanley.
Okay.
Are you gonna go?
Okay, I'll start.
So 3, 2, 1.
Today on Stuffed, we're hitting burgers. Hitting burgers. I am not allowed to take this one. I am not taking this one. Hey, it's Aoife.
Farai.
And Columbus.
And we're three really good friends who really love to eat.
Join us as we put our taste buds to the test and discover the amazing food around St. John's.
We ordered the same dish at 3 places and then we vote for our favorite.
Let's get stuffed!
So today on Stuffed, we're gonna be doing burgers. We're gonna hit up 3 places. That's the Yellow Belly Brewery,
Bernard Stanley, Gastropub.
And Johnny and Mays.
So yeah, Bernard Stanley Gastropub, and yeah, they opened up in 2015, and they really have good burgers apparently. So let's try it out. So we're gonna go with the Stanley burger that has beef and pork patty, bacon cheddar, Jack and Pepsi barbecue sauce, bourbon aioli, tomato jam, jalapenos, lettuce on a pretzel bun.
Oh my
That
goodness.
was
Oh, so good.
That is crazy.
There you go.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
I'm not even embarrassed.
It has a bit of like a spicy tanginess to it that is very unexpected. Oh, it's so good.
I didn't know what to expect about the jam. Apparently it's like tomato jam, so that gave like the bun a really sweet taste. And oh yeah, there's a really good jalapeno kick at the end, which is still like tantalizing my taste buds right now. So
Personally, I think this is a great place to come with friends. I would definitely come here again. Probably not with these two, but but I definitely come here again.
Wow. Oh, that was so good.
That was amazing.
That was...
We're here at Johnny and May's food truck, which is parked on Kingsbridge Road in the parking lot of St. Thomas's Church. They're very well known for their comfort food. They opened up about a year ago, I think. And I'm very excited to try out their zesty burger. It's exciting. We got Doritos and bacon in the same burger.
that's like your every reaction. Like
I was actually
it's
about to
not
say,
authentic.
who let you have the first bite?
Honestly, guys.
I really like the way the Doritos complement the burger. Oh, so you can but I can't Great.
Okay.
Cool. I dare you to
Personally, I think it's good. I find it very interesting how the cheese and the Doritos are working together. It didn't seem like something that would naturally fit into a burger, but my taste buds are at a party right now.
Yeah. Honestly,
will be-
I feel like this is the best bun so far.
There's so many flavors on my palate right now. That was so good.
That was great.
amazing.
I enjoyed that.
So what's
Yummy.
next?
I
Where are we
enjoyed
going
that.
next?
Yellow belly, I think?
Yeah,
Yeah.
but I'm too lazy to walk, so. So we're in the corner of George and Water Street at Yellow Belly Brewery, which is a microbrewery known for their craft beer and food, of course. So we're gonna grab some burgers from there. I've never been here, so this is really exciting. I'm really stoked. Guys, are you ready? Okay, let's go. You guys always gang up on me.
It's because you're a corn farmer.
Huh?
Because you have cornrows.
Well,
Was that too corny? I thought it was
Stop!
enough puns for the day, please. I think you've reached a pun limit.
So if I make a sandwich and I put pickles on it, does that make it a burger?
That makes it a
Yeah,
burger.
apparently.
Officially, it's a burger.
Regardless of what type of bun or bread I use.
Yeah, it's still a burger. So you can have like your, I don't know. What
Pickles,
kind of
I don't
bread you
understand why though.
I disagree.
Why? You know what should be in a burger? Avocados.
I don't pick pickles.
Ugh.
like. It's okay. Like that didn't happen.
So they actually have a section on the menu just for gourmet burgers. I'm interested in quite a few of them. The Yellow Belly Burger, which has Halliday, fresh ground beef, caramelized onion, garlic aioli, blue cheese, braised short ribs, and tomato jam. Okay, yeah, let's do the yellow belly burger. Drum roll. Ooh.
It's not Friday, but Friday.
First bite, let's go. That looks amazing. There's a spiciness coming from somewhere. Why am I looking at it like I'm gonna find out where it's coming from?
Is he gonna look for the spiciness?
I'm out here like...
Under the bun?
As soon as I start getting used to the flavor, it changes.
It's yummy though.
It's a really good burger. The caramelized onions definitely add a different texture to it as well. I didn't know burgers could have so many like different tastes. I'm really happy that everyone did their own sauces and everything, so that's cool.
Yeah.
So you got to try 3 different burgers today. What was your favorite?
It was a close call, but Johnny and Mays did it for me.
Same, like same.
Yeah, the ingredient use was clever.
And the fresh buns, the bun was fresh.
I agree. Once you have Doritos in a burger, I'm sold.
Facts.
You stuffed?
I'm totally stuffed.
You stuffed?
I'm stuffed.
I'm stuffed. That's a wrap. Wow. No. It's a burger.
It's a burger.
Well, if you'd like to watch that again, I'm kind of hungry now, or if you want to learn more about the hosts of that item, you can head to cbc.ca/, and I should say series.
Yes, and the next installment in the series will be about finding the perfect pizza. The sisters of an Alberta man are going public with their story of how he died in RCMP custody. He was thrown into a drunk tank even though he was sober and died in his cell just hours later. The women are demanding answers because it's not the first time something like that has happened at the same detachment. Rosa Marcatelli explains.
This is going to be hard to look at again.
This is how Michael Mollick's sisters want to remember him, a gentle guy who loved to joke around, not on the cold floor of an RCMP drunk tank where he died after having a stroke.
The fact that he died alone on a cement floor, like that to me, no one should ever have to go through that.
Police picked up Mollick in May 2019 thinking he was drunk. They'd seen empty alcohol and medication bottles in his parked car, but no breathalyzer was done. When he started vomiting in the cell, paramedics were called in to assess him but didn't take him to hospital. He died hours later. The next shock came with the coroner's report.
No alcohol or drugs.
No, he was having a stroke.
That's what was going on.
This is the second time RCMP at the same detachment may have mistaken a stroke victim for drunk with disastrous results. In February, Go Public reported on how Alan Rule was left in the drunk tank for 18 hours while having a stroke in 2015.
They were negligent. Well, once they put me in the cell, that was the end of it.
Across the country, more than 11,000 complaints have been filed against the RCMP over the past 5 years, ranging from neglect of duty to improper arrest. But when it comes to taking responsibility when things go wrong, experts say the system set up to hold police accountable is pathetic.
It's all smoke and mirrors.
Take Alan Rule, for example. The Civilian Review and Complaints Commission looked into his case, made recommendations, but the RCMP has done nothing for 2 years because experts say it doesn't have to.
Those recommendations should be mandatory by law. So otherwise, this commission has virtually no power. None.
Ottawa says it's considering changes.
And I am prepared, if it's necessary, to make legislative and regulatory changes.
The RCMP tells Go Public it's prioritized Rule's complaint and will respond when feasible. Asselin and Gallant want RCMP to make public that internal investigation it did into their brother's death, the one that found no one was at fault. They say they'll keep pressing for answers. Rosa Marcatelli, CBC News, Go Public.
Well, to the United States now, this is the final day of campaigning in the presidential election, and both candidates are holding multiple rallies in key states as they try to win over any remaining undecided voters.
We win Pennsylvania, and we're going to win the whole thing. We're going to win the whole thing. And we'll send them a signal like they've never seen before.
It's time for Donald Trump to pack his bags and go home. We're done. We're done with the chaos. We're done with the tweets, the anger, the hate, the failure, the irresponsibility.
More than 95 million Americans have already cast their ballots, and that's an early voting record. Most opinion polls indicate Joe Biden in the lead nationally, but it will all come down to what happens in individual swing states, such as Pennsylvania. That's the one place both candidates visited today. Well, it seems more Americans are considering a move to Canada depending on the outcome of tomorrow's election. A Canadian immigration lawyer says calls to his office have spiked in the last few months. The CBC's Kayla Hounsell introduces us to one woman who says even if she doesn't qualify for immigration, she plans to drive to the border seeking asylum.
Rosette Molnar, who's from Connecticut, says if Donald Trump wins the American election, she will not continue living in the United States.
I feel like Black people are an endangered species in America. I feel like we're being hunted.
She got the idea to move to Canada from this website, and the man who created it says she's not the only one.
Some people write in and it's just, get me out of here. Some people write in and not ask anything and just say how afraid they are.
But moving to Canada is not that easy. Molnar doesn't qualify for immigration, so she plans to seek political asylum.
I'm ready to literally pack up my car and drive to Canada. I literally will. And cry at the border and beg at the border.
A Halifax immigration lawyer says it's difficult to imagine Canada granting refugee status to an American citizen, but he says it might be possible, particularly if the person is a visible minority and can demonstrate a real need for protection.
If Trump gets reelected and if the things people fear become real,
Americans claiming political asylum in Canada, as astonishing as an idea as that is, becomes a more realistic scenario.
Cohen also says he's had an increase in calls from Americans, and some want to move to Canada regardless of the election outcome.
If Joe Biden succeeds tomorrow in the presidential election, there's this sense that it will take years for the Trump damage to be remedied.
Like I said,
Molnar is hopeful things will change, but says if they don't, she'll be among those ready to leave the United States, no matter who's president. Kayla Hounsell, CBC News, Halifax.
COVID-19 forced the cancellation of Easter Steel's normal Halloween party, so this year they did something different.
We're helping support the trick-or-treaters.
Jeremy Eaton and I'll have that story coming up on Here and Now.
We'll wind things down, taking a look at the weekend. Some hardy Halloweeners hit the Easter Seals parking lot this on Saturday afternoon.
Yeah, the group usually does an event indoors, but COVID changed that plan.
Yeah, they held a trunk or treat instead. Just take a look.
Happy Halloween!
Typically, we have a family Halloween party inside,
But obviously this year's a little bit different, so we moved our event outside and we're doing a trunk or treat for the first time ever, which has so far been a success.
Basically, the kids come around and we give them whatever we got.
You see how long my arm is?
Oh
Look.
my goodness.
Oh my, that's a long arm, isn't it?
Our participants can go car to car and just visit each stop as if it was a door and get some treats and just have some outdoor fun.
These children, it's more difficult for them to get around, and I think the smiles on their faces are brighter than a lot of other children, and it's just a pleasure to be involved.
The whole purpose of the event is for our participants who may have some accessibility issues or barrier emotionally or cognitively to actually approach a door and knock on it and have a stranger answer. This gives them the opportunity, a place that they're comfortable to come see familiar faces and still get their treats without having that fear, other than just the spooky fun of Halloween, and that they can get the accessibility needs that they have.
It's all about community, and COVID is very different this year. But anything Easter Seals related, we're going to be here. We just love that organization, and they do such good work.
We're very thankful to our sponsors and volunteers who've donated their whole afternoon to us, and we're grateful for the cooperation of our families. Like I said, they love the event, and we're very happy, and hopefully this will be a new tradition that we continue in years to come.
Oh, nice. Looks like they had a great time. And what about you guys on Halloween night? Did you get many trick-or-treaters at your door?
Well, every year I hope for more than what I can count on one hand, and this year was no different. I got my hopes up because they started coming really early, but as usual, I'm left with all this candy, which I think is a plot by my dentist. But
Yeah,
that's a whole other
I had
story.
two, that's
Two?
all.
I had like 20-ish, I guess.
Oh, that's good.
Yeah, I could have had more, but I wasn't home early on. But that's not good though, because I have so much chocolate at home now.
And if you have some extra candies at home, just a note that the Gathering Place in St. John's says that they will take all of those chocolate bars and all those treats off your hands. They say they rarely get to give out sweet treats, and they would love to pass out your Halloween candy. So if you don't want to eat it all yourself, they are taking donations.
Perfect.
Not a bad idea.
That's a great idea.
Well, it's a good place to take it all.
Well, turning now to the Netherlands before we leave you tonight. We have a very interesting tale to tell you about a whale. A public transit rail car rolled past the end of its tracks on a pier, approaching a 10-meter drop when it was stopped by a whale this morning. Just have a look. Hopefully. There we go. Yeah, not a real whale, fake whale. The statue happens to be called Saved by a Whale's Tail. The conductor was shocked but unharmed in the incident. There were no passengers aboard and no one was injured. So now some residents are calling to keep the tram as a permanent addition to the whale sculpture. Officials are studying how it can be safely removed. It's unusual.
That's nerve-wracking.
Yes, strange.
I'd say. Why don't we talk about the potential for some snow?
Yeah.
Let's take a look at sorry, my models there. This is the model track comparison. So just to kind of give you an idea of what is going on, you can see the two systems there as we head through the overnight on Wednesday, or Tuesday night into Wednesday. You can see how close they are, but then the models start to disagree. So at this point, we're looking at, could see anywhere from 10 to as much as 15 centimeters of snow. So we'll certainly keep an eye on that one for eastern Newfoundland.
Right, great.
That'll
Well, that's
do
it
it.
for us tonight. Thank you so much for watching, everyone.
Good night.
Good night.